Welcome back. It is a tricky game on the schedule coming up, but we're glad to be back. LAFC Plus here for episode 95. I'm Dave Denholm. He is Mario Ruiz, and welcome to the show. We appreciate you. Mario, great to talk to you, buddy. Our international break is over because we got to get right back to it coming up on the weekend, back in MLS play.
Oh, yeah. Fully rested, recharged, ready to go for another stretch, another big block of games for LAFC. And the games in MLS and the games in Coca Champions are all very, very critical matches coming up. So LAFC got to rack up points and continue to rack up wins in Coca Champions. So let's go. Let's go for this.
Yeah, amen, brother. I'm loving it. LAFC will be taking on Orlando City, a team that is struggling. Let's get right into it. Once again, of course, we want to say thanks so much to our partner at LAFC Plus. This show is always presented by Hotel Indigo in downtown Los Angeles. Hotel Indigo, Los Angeles, great place. We appreciate their support. We always love your support. Thank you so much. And you can find us on the socials. Give them where you're at, Mario. Everybody loves to follow you.
At I am Mario Ruiz. At I am Mario Ruiz. That's on Instagram. That's on X. That's on TikTok. And Dave, you got your Instagram, your socials as well. So go ahead and give those out as well.
Sure. Insta is Dave_Denholm, spelled like my name. And Twitter or X, my handle is @TalkSoccer, @TalkSoccer, all one word. And just started a Substack. So you literally could be like the first person to subscribe, basically. So I don't mean you, Mario. I mean anybody who, if you're out there, go find me on Substack, Dave Denholm, spelled like my name. You can find, just search on Substack. Been writing a little bit, going to be covering the World Cup there, just doing some writing about it and stuff. Might have a few videos up and stuff, but I'm definitely going to be covering many games there. Yeah, just take,
love it.
We've got other, hopefully other plans. Can't talk about yet, between us, but hopefully, definitely covering a lot of stuff there. I made my predictions, Mario, just to let you know what's on my Substack right now. Only a couple of written articles so far, so you haven't missed much. Just started, but if you want to go subscribe there, go search Dave Denholm at Substack, and then. But I wrote. Made my predictions for those playoff games. Obviously, the FIFA, the playoffs were for UEFA. There were 4 different groups.
Some good
ones. And then the ones, obviously for the FIFA play-in games, which included Jamaica from, our region here, of course, and, Bolivia, all those teams, Iraq. I made my predictions, 6 groups, essentially. 6 winners were going to come out of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And into the finals. I won't give it all away, but into the finals, let's just say, I know the beautiful game. I had all 6 of my teams, of my picks, that advanced to the finals of those competitions.
Nice.
So I won't give it away how well I did, but you can go check that out on Substack. So yeah, I'm just, if you're watching on YouTube, that's fine too. You can just see how giddy I look. But let's just say, go find out how I did. Had all
That's well overdue,
teams.
Dave. I love that. Can't wait to start checking these out.
Yeah, well, we're going to have some fun there. But we're having fun on LAFC Plus every week right here. And the Plus, of course, covering all of MLS, a lot of world football, of course, like keeping our eyes on that as well. But we do start with LAFC. Back in action. They've been back training. Home match. That's good after a break. You like that because guys are now, even when they went on international break, which plenty of players did, they come back to LA, right? Then you can get just kind of hit the ground running from your break. Even if you were on international duty, you come back to LA and then you don't have to travel somewhere else, and do that kind of thing. So Orlando, in fact, has to make the long trip out to BMO Stadium coming up Saturday night, which you'll hear on the ESPN LA app. And we'll have the call. Mario will have his stuff going on. And we'll bring it to you. He's got a lot of pregame stuff. If you want to hear that, good stuff from Mario. And we'll bring you the match on the ESPN LA app coming up Saturday. But this game's a little tricky. We mention that word, Mario, and I don't just say that lightly because Orlando stinks right now. There's no two ways about it. They're 1-4. They've been terrible. Only one win against Montreal. Their road matches, they've been blown out. I mean, their goal difference is awful because of it. They're giving up like 5 goals in their road matches each. Yeah. So certainly their travels have been tough, but we talked about it a little bit. They made the coaching change, right? They part ways with Oscar Pereira after only 3 matches. Now they have a new Martin Perlman comes in. He's been around the club, so he's interim, but the players know him. The players respect him. And you got that kind of boost from signing Antoine Griezmann and making that announcement, Mario. This is going to be a little trickier game than people think because they have talent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I sat down with head coach Marc Dos Santos earlier today at training, and he said something that you're going to love, Dave, first off, because it's something that you and I talk about a lot. We talk about this on and off the air on our broadcast and our podcast. And I was talking to Mark about being in first place and the rest of the league chasing LAFC and just the mindset, the mentality of the boys and how that can affect the mentality of the club. But Mark says that he's aiming for first place because he knows that at any point in the season, they can go to, second, third, fourth, first again. But at the end, at the very, very end, he wants to finish first place because he knows how important it is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that is what you and I talk about all the time. So that's the mentality that he's going into this game with. And that's what we love about Marc Dos Santos because he cares about the match at hand, the next game that's on the calendar, and you have to get as many points as possible because, yes, it's early on in the season, but you know what? At the end of the season, you don't want to look back on this tricky Orlando game and say, if we would have, gotten the full 3 points at home, then we would be playing, let's say, Seattle or Vancouver at home in the playoffs instead of on the road. So that's what I love about Marc Dos Santos. And he told me that earlier. And I said, I was just smiling. And I was just thinking about you and I, Dave, about how you and I talk about this all the time. You have to get all the points possible, as much as possible. Every game is massive.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, I think that's a great shout in terms of, if only we could have, got the full. You can't drop points. It's not even just about losing, right? Because if you draw at home, you lost 2 points in my estimation. And I don't care who you're playing, right? I don't care what the matchup is. If you are a home team and you draw at home, I don't care how the game went. I don't care. Yeah, maybe you scored late and you salvaged a point. No, you lost 2 points. I don't care how what happens. Look, if you go down to 8 men and manage to make a draw out of it, fine. We can celebrate a draw at home. There's certain scenarios, I guess, where I might not be bitter. But dropping 2 points at home is just not acceptable, regardless of who you're playing. And those
it always feels like a loss when you have those
kill you in MLS
draws,
in the standings.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had it. We've had it years where we drop points at home with draws. We weren't losing games all the time by any means. We barely ever lose at home, frankly. But, a couple of draws here and there at home can really kind of you stub your toe that way. And then all of a sudden you find yourself falling down the standings because, look, it's not easy to get points on the road. We know that. It doesn't matter how good you are. Those can always be a little trickier. Getting stuff at home, but then losing points at home, that can't happen. And let's be realistic. It's a team that has 3 points from 5 games. So you have to presume you're going to go in and beat them. That's just the bottom line. I don't care. I know they've got talent. We'll talk about that right now. You've got Martin Ojeda, who we love on this show. I've always loved him. I know Mario has too. Super talented. He's very dangerous. I think they kind of handcuffed him a bit when he first got there. They kind of took their time, and he wasn't incorporating very well. And I don't know that he fit their style, but then they started to kind of use him in a way like we're going to use him in the style that he needs to be used in, like instead of fighting this, let's get the most out of him. And I'm so glad because obviously we're fans of LAFC first and foremost, but I like to see good football around the league. And we know Martin Ojeda is a great footballer. He's a great player. So it was so good that they didn't give up on that. Like it didn't start out great. Sometimes teams might get a little anxious, get a little nervous. Maybe they make a move too quickly. They stuck with him, and he's so good. Marko Pasalic, he's a very talented player. Like he bombs up and down anywhere he wants to go, kind of, but he plays on the wing. He's dangerous. And Ivan Angulo is another name that you better keep an ear out for when I'm broadcasting because he can be a real handful too. So they've got weapons, Mario. They've had some injuries on defense, so that's been a bit of a problem. They brought in a lot of young kids. So we got to take advantage. It's still early enough that they don't really realize that maybe they can turn this around yet. They got Griezmann coming, you got to catch them and really take it to them when you can.
And just knowing that they're going to have the presence of a superstar a little bit down the road, that makes a huge impact. When you have a guy like Griezmann joining the team in the summertime, just like on the culture, in the locker room, on the pitch, the fan base as well, it changes everything. I mean, we saw that happen many times here at LAFC with Gareth Bale, Giorgio Chiellini, Sonny, Hugo, and all the other stars that have come here. When you have guys like this, it just boosts up the caliber of all the guys in the locker room. Walking around, you gotta be on that same level as Griezmann when he's walking around and training, when he's working out, when he's doing drills, whatever they're working on. You got to match that same energy. You got to be on that level. So it's a game changer to have Griezmann, just to have that in the mind that if we stay afloat, if we stay somewhere in the middle, somewhere, even towards the top a little bit, then when Griezmann gets here, it's another boost. So it's definitely motivating for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mario, you were out at training in the preparation for this match, and of course they meet with the media, the team, and everything. You have an interview you want to play for this show coming up. Who set this up? I know it's Ryan Raposo. Set it up here, and let's play that here on LAFC Plus.
I was talking with Ryan about just taking advantage of that international break because they've been so busy, on that 9-game unbeaten run. And I know that there's another big block of games coming up. So we talked about just taking advantage of getting that rest.
You guys were able to get a few days off for the international window. How do you balance staying sharp, but also getting that, taking advantage of that rest and that break time?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to do here in LA. A couple of us guys, we got together, played golf. So that's what I enjoy doing on my off time, playing golf, hanging out at the pool, reading some books, and yeah.
Nice. Now, do you fully get to unplug from soccer, or are you like watching tape, watching other games, or you just disconnect from the game totally?
I think I'll watch some of the guys when they go away with their national team. I watched Sonny play. I watched the Canada play, so Mathieu. So yeah, I'm still watching, but in general, usually I like to disconnect as much as possible.
Yeah, me too. I have to get away for a bit.
Nice.
Because the schedule gets crazy for the broadcasters as well. Now, you guys are unbeaten through 9 games, off to a great start. What do you think the identity has been so far for the club? What's the identity that's got you guys on this hot streak so far?
I think it has been contributions from all around. If you look at our goal scorers, we have a lot of goal scorers this year, which is different compared to last year. So I think everyone is putting in a really good shift. Everyone is buying into how we want to play. So yeah, so far so good. But I think we have a couple extra gears that we have in us.
I love to hear that. Now, how impressive is it to have this type of start under a new head coach like Marc Dos Santos?
Yeah, Marc's obviously a new head coach, but he's been here for years.
Yeah.
He was my head coach in Vancouver. He has a great relationship with all the guys. So we knew the guys. We knew that it would be a smooth transition.
Yeah.
Like I said, because we all know Marc pretty well. But yeah, it's fantastic for the team, for the staff, and for Marc. So I think everyone's happy, but we're not satisfied with what we have so far. Obviously, that last round in Champions League was close, so we want to make sure we tidy some things up and try and win trophies. That's the goal. I think that's the biggest thing that I enjoy of being at this club is we're not trying to just participate. We want to win Supporters Shield, MLS Cup, Champions League, Leagues Cup, whatever competition we're in, we're there to win. So I really appreciate that.
Now you guys are currently at the top of the West, first place. How does that change the mentality of the group, knowing that the rest of the league is chasing you guys?
I don't think it affects anything. Maybe other teams are looking at us like that way, but I think we are just focused on us. And not to sound cliche, but improving every day, making sure we're, like I said, tidying things up in places we need to fix. And just taking it one game at a time. Like this weekend we have Orlando, so focusing on Orlando, how they play, how we can kind of counter that and be effective to win the match. And then after Orlando, we're going to focus on Cruz Azul. So for this next 2 months up into the World Cup, it's going to be crazy. So we really have to focus one game at a time and make sure every single person on the roster is ready to contribute.
As you guys come out of this break and do face Orlando City at BMO Stadium, what's going to be the key to carry the momentum into that match?
Yeah, I think the energy today was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think guys are excited to come back from the national team. Guys are excited that we're a full group again. So yeah, I think the energy is good. The energy is positive. And yeah, I think with guys coming back from injury, it's going to take us to another level. And yeah, I feel the guys are confident and excited to get going again.
Orlando just had a big signing, of course. They signed Antoine Griezmann. He's not going to be available for this match. But what does that do for a club when they sign a big superstar player like that?
Yeah, it's massive. Obviously, World Cup winner, big player, massive player. So I think it's awesome for the league to bring the players like this, because it'll ultimately just bring more eyes on the league, which everyone wants. So yeah, it's awesome. I'm sure the club is excited. The guys are excited to bring him in. And obviously, he's going to help so much.
Well, good luck in this one. Thanks for the time as always, Ryan.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, I wish Griezmann was available for this match here against LAFC at BMO Stadium, because first off, he's a superstar, of course, and it would be nice for LAFC to face him and all that. But I'm also curious to see how LAFC fans receive him when he does eventually come to BMO Stadium sometime down the line, because we all know that there was a bunch of rumors of, him coming to LAFC, and then things were getting hot. People were starting to believe some of those things. So I know a lot of LAFC fans on social media, they're kind of like over Griezmann. So how do they receive him, and how does that go over? And obviously there's some fans that are big fans of his as well too. So I'm sure he's going to get a lot of love, but that'd be kind of cool to see him here at a BMO Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to beat him. So I don't know if it'll be in the MLS Cup, but we can do it on Saturday.
That's always the attitude for you, Dave. I love it.
Exactly. I wish we could do it on Saturday in terms of him being there, but we're just going to have to beat his team on Saturday coming up at BMO Stadium. One other thing, of course, we have Booth to Booth, which is a segment we do here. Look, we keep it real here on LAFC Plus. We've had some issues with this playing the booth to booth thing on our, through the system we use to do this show on video. Now, most of you probably listening to it as a podcast somewhere else. Fine. That's great. But we do the show on the YouTube. It's put up on the YouTube channel of LAFC. Go find it. It's LAFC Plus, amongst the many great shows that we have on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe, hit the like buttons on those, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get all that stuff. Great content, including LAFC Plus. And when we try to put the, it probably doesn't sound like a big deal on the audio portion that you might be listening to on Spotify or your Apple Podcast, wherever you listen to it. But the video stuff, we always have issues with this. So we're going to try it again.
Let's have you hit it this time, because sometimes I hit it, but let's have you hit it, and let's see if you can walk up to the post, kind of like a FM DJ walks up to the post.
This is going to be a mess. But I just want to get the intro in now in case when I do click it, it just starts for crazy this time. This is a man named Jack Edwards. He is the play-by-play voice, young man for Orlando City, and of course this is Booth to Booth, so we'd like to kind of get a feel for that. I jump right in with him. So there's going to be no intro. This is Jack Edwards. He is the play-by-play voice for Orlando as we try this again on Booth to Booth here on LAFC Plus. Let's see if we can do this. Struggle so far this season.
There's a lot of answers to that question. I think the biggest thing is there was a big roster turnover. Last season, very good at the beginning, kind of fades a little bit towards the end, just one win in the final 10 matches in 2025. And then a big roster turnover. Luis Muriel is one of the DPs, moves on. Alex Freeman had a fantastic year, goes to Villarreal, and they bring in 3 young Brazilian players as U22 initiative signings. And so there was always going to kind of be a bedding in process for these new players coming in. And I think it's taken a little longer than they would have expected. And Oscar Pereira obviously did come back from last year to this year, but only 3 matches in, they decide mutually, all right, I think it's best if we both move our separate ways. So defensively, there have been challenges. They've shipped 5 goals in each of the away games so far they've played. And there have been good signs in the attacking end of things, but it's not been the start they would have wanted. A lot of players getting their MLS debuts, guys who were really next pro guys last year in Colin Gusky, Tahir Reed Brown have been important parts. So you don't want to call it a transition year, but there have been a lot of moving pieces that just haven't quite gelled in yet. So you wonder if this international break was kind of a welcome, take a deep breath, kind of reassess things, and then a very interesting challenge across the country when you come out of it.
We always get everybody's best shot at LAFC, so I expect a pretty good game actually. Even though it's a tough road trip, a long road trip for Orlando, that's nothing they're, I'm sure, not used to. But tell me, how are we going to see them play? Do you think? How do they set up under Martin Perlman? What is there any kind of differences that maybe fans might expect from this match?
The thing that I'm most interested in is the general shape that we see from Orlando is a back four, but a left back that is much more reserved and a right back that's more attacking. Last year was Alex Friedman. Obviously, LA and Orlando did not play last year. And so the last time that these sides played in 2024, I think there's only 3 or 4 players that were even in the squad for that one for Orlando, just a little over, less than 2 years ago at this point. So Freeman as the right back was very advanced. They would almost let him play as a right winger at times. And we see that with the national team. He's a bit more reserved, but in that right back capacity, he's given a lot of license to go forward. And so obviously he left. Griffin Dorsey comes in, and he's very similar in the athletic profile, his ability to be up and down that right-hand side, probably very familiar playing against him with Houston. Now, Dorsey, I think, is a little questionable with a small issue. So it would be a question, if he played, how would his tactical look be? Because there's a very talented left winger for LA and Denny Bouanga. You can't just kind of vacate that space all the time and not expect to be just torn apart in transition. So even if Dorsey is available, which it's still up in the air, he was a little questionable this week in training, how would his profile differ? Because at times he'll play almost as a right winger with Marko Pasalic, who is the right winger, playing a bit more centrally, tiny bit deeper, allowing him to play a bit more centrally. And then Martin Ojeda, who scored when these teams last played, operates as a number 10, but very comfortably in the press, kind of plays as almost a second striker next to Duncan McGuire in a 4-2-3-1, but that kind of defends in a 4-4-2 with Ojeda very flexible to move up and down that left-hand side. So I'm very interested to see what ends up happening here, because in the midfield, it's been kind of a revolving door a little bit. Brian Ojeda coming in from Real Salt Lake. He's had 4 different central midfield partners, and he has not had the same guy in back-to-back games next to him in the midfield. So there's a lot of small quirks that Orlando could throw at this one. But the big thing, obviously, is that very advanced right back. How does that differ with Denny Bouanga as the main threat on the other side? You have to respect that. Now, does that result in a complete wholesale tactical shift? I think LAFC are a side that's talented enough that it dictates a change like that, where you do change everything for this one-off fixture, which I'm sure could be just infuriating to deal with if you're Mark Dos Santos, if you're LAFC. You see something for there's 5 games of the season, and then it's something completely different. So I don't know what we're really going to see, honestly, because of just that one-on-one matchup, that with how advanced and aggressive the right back has been with Orlando these last 2 seasons, this season and last, what that ends up looking like.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's how I felt. I don't know what I'm going to see from the Lions this game. It's going to be interesting. I know that, but looking ahead now, obviously World Cup break, which actually I think helps Orlando in this sense. Normally when you bring in a player like Antoine Griezmann, he's got about 10 games left. Once the window closes, and maybe you get him in now that you've announced it, maybe he would come in a little earlier, of course, than some of the signings, but still not a lot of games left normally. Now they're scheduled a little more backloaded this season for all of us because the World Cup break. Does that give Orlando some hope here? I mean, obviously the signing for the future is incredible, but even for this season, is it more of a case now that it kind of lifts everybody? They announce it early where, hey, let's get as many points as we can here before this break, before this World Cup break, because you do have a little more time with a player like Griezmann. I know he'll need a little rest maybe after the World Cup, but this could be a big signing even this season, which isn't always the case with these massive signings that come in.
Yeah, last year, Marko Pasalic coming in as a DP hit the ground running, and you really want to hope that Griezmann can do the exact same thing. He has the talent for that. So I think it is a natural transition for the side where you have the first half of the season where you have a lot of young Brazilians coming in Iago, Thiago, and Luis Otavio, some younger players getting adjusted. You don't want to be out of the race entirely for the rest of this spell in the spring. So I think if you can pick up a few more results and just keep yourself kind of floating, even if you're outside the playoff spots, This team has been in the playoffs for 6 straight seasons. It's something the club prides itself on. Last year, obviously, slipping to the wild card spot. They're going to want to improve upon that. So I think with Griezmann coming in, it's a natural fill of a Brian Ojeda is currently occupying a DP slot, but their plan is to kind of buy him down to a non-DP spot, and then obviously Griezmann comes in. So that makes sense in that area where you have this really just shot in the arm in terms of talent up front.
Good stuff there from Jack Edwards, the voice of Orlando City. Had to kind of cut that. It was bad editing on my part, but it didn't do too bad. That's not too bad here with the audio part. I mean, with my technical glitches. Mario knows what he's doing. I am a technical idiot. So
it came out pretty well, Dave. I love it.
Managed to do that pretty well. Not too bad. That is a great segment.
And I always look forward to Booth to Booth. I always look forward to it because we get some great insight from the other broadcasters.
Very good. Jack Edwards, very good. You heard it in the voice, too. He's a very talented kid. So
more talk about Griezmann, too, and I actually talked to Delgado, too, about the signing of Griezmann. And Marky had a pretty good point because even though he's not going to be here till later on in the season, he's not going to play against LAFC, of course, like we're talking about. But when you make that announcement, I think months ahead, you actually have a chance to attract other players that possibly could come in the next window for Orlando City as well.
Yeah,
it's definitely a good selling piece for Orlando to say, hey, we have Griezmann here, we have a new coach, we have a beautiful stadium, a great fan base. So yeah, it's a pretty good idea to announce it a little bit earlier than just waiting till the summertime.
That's really a tremendous point, actually, from Mark Delgado. Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Never thought of it. We'll see what happens. I mean, look, I wish them all the best after Saturday. Certainly, I have no problem with Orlando. It's not like we hate Orlando. There's no rivalry there or anything, but be interesting to see how they kind of build around.
We've only played Orlando like 5 times in MLS before.
Has it been that much? I mean, I believe
4 or 5.
I think with Jack, we were talking a little bit. I think they've only come to LA like once, maybe twice.
Yeah. I was looking at it earlier on IG. Matter of fact, on LAFC's IG, I was looking at it. I was like, wow, not too many games against Orlando.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been. Well, that's the East-West thing, of course, with MLS. You don't get a lot of looks.
Yeah, LAFC 3 wins and 2 draws against Orlando City in MLS.
I'd be honest with you. I'm amazed we played them 5 times. This will be our 6th appearance with them, but
the last 3 matches were in Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it just feels like a team that we haven't seen a lot, like in LA. That makes more sense. It's been on the road a lot.
True.
So.
That is very true.
Do want to give a quick international break, a recap, just a little bit. Of course, we had several players go off to international duty. This is kind of a window that if it wasn't about the playoffs and teams trying to battle into the World Cup, then the games, they're important and everything. Obviously, it's the last real big window, but maybe for coaches to make decisions on players who are going to go to the World Cup potentially or maybe miss out on it. So it's an important window, but some players are just playing friendlies. Frankly, if you're not going to the World Cup and you don't have that kind of pressure of building that roster and seeing how, can you make a roster or, how many minutes they're friendly. So interesting to note, Matthew Choinière played one of the Canadian games. Now, of course, Canada getting ready for the World Cup, but he didn't go like 180 minutes during this window. He played once. Son Heung-Min played twice, of course, for South Korea being the captain. But he didn't play the full 90 both. In fact, he didn't go 90 in either game. So there's that where maybe his minutes were a little more limited, thankfully, because we're right in the middle of starting a season here. With Nathan Ordaz got some good time. I believe he scored a goal for El Salvador in one of their friendlies. So good to see that. David Martinez only played 1 game for Venezuela during the break. So it wasn't like he was overtaxed or anything like that, of course, because again, you still got to travel for these games. Some of them are in wild, like going halfway around the world. We know all that. So good to see that. But those are a few of the names. Amin Boudry did not appear for Sweden. He was on the bench for one of those U21 games, did not appear for them. So he obviously, he was training and everything, but not like he played too much, where he hopefully got a little bit of a rest, at least physically. So I think these guys will be ready to go. So that's kind of our the international recap is that nobody was overworked. During
that's
this break.
True. And I know a lot of the players that didn't go on international duty, they know how to take advantage of these international breaks, right? Because it's always going to be a busy schedule when the schedule gets back up and running. And it was a busy first, stretch of 9 games where the team just worked their butt off to end up in first place in that stretch in the West. And also, they worked hard to get into the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Champions as well. So I know the squad, and even Mark knows that you have to take advantage of the break. You have to disconnect, you have to rest, you have to recharge. And Mark knows you have to just, do whatever it takes for you, whether it's being just with the family or whether you want to go away, for a few days on a small trip or something like that. But whatever it takes for you to rest, recharge, and be ready to go at it again, that's what the guys had to do. And I'm sure they did that because LAFC is about to go on this stretch of 7 games in 22 days, which is going to be crazy.
Yep.
I don't know how we're going to keep our head above water, but we will do it just like we always do, starting with the game this Saturday against Orlando, and then a few days later against Cruz Azul on Tuesday, that big CONCACAF Champions quarterfinal. And I just hope everybody got their rest and is ready to go for this next block of games.
I'm trying not to look past Orlando, which the team is trying, of course. They're not going to do that either.
Yeah.
But you do have that Cruz Azul game looming before we even do another LAFC Plus. You can hear us do that one on Tuesday, 6:30 for the pregame on the ESPN LA app, 7 o'clock for kickoff. That's CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinals against a team that's second in the Clausura. They were third in the Apertura. This is a loaded Cruz Azul team. They got a couple of players who are just scoring at will, it seems, on this club. And talent all over, including our old buddy Omar Campos, of course, who went to Cruz Azul. This is, of course, the team. Mari Bogusz left LAFC, went to Cruz Azul on a big transfer. He, of course, back in MLS with Houston Dynamo. But we all know Cruz Azul. I mean, this is going to be a really tough 2 legs. We start at home. Tougher to go to on the road, of course. We've talked a little bit about that on the second leg, but we also have mentioned they're not in their home stadium because of this FIFA window and everything and all the stuff going on with that. So with the build up to the World Cup, they're playing away from home in a sense. Now they'll have plenty of fans. they'll be well represented against a team like LAFC, make no mistake, but maybe a little easier, maybe just a bit easier in that sense, Mario, or a little bit of an advantage there.
I did see something online where they might be playing at Estadio Azteca, the remodeled, revamped stadium.
I thought they were playing at Estadio Cuauhtémoc, but
in Puebla, yeah, that's what I saw early on. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. Pardon me. I'm not 100% sure on that. Actually, I thought that's what it was. I thought it was Estadio Cuauhtémoc, but you may be right. In any event, it isn't their home,
right? That's true.
Stadium, so
yeah,
we'll take whatever we get, whatever kind of, if you can call it an advantage. But we got to take care of business at BMO on Tuesday. So 2 straight matches at BMO Stadium coming up before we meet again next Thursday with LAFC Plus. We'll, of course, recap that big game against Cruz Azul and look forward to another MLS and then another game against Cruz Azul down in Mexico. This is, as Mario said, we're going to get even busier than we already have been, frankly, to start this season. So looking forward to that, no doubt. We do have to turn our attention to around the rest of MLS real quick. New stadium, Mario. What a name, huh? New as in NU.
Yeah.
The sponsor of Inter Miami Stadium that opens up Saturday against Austin FC. So Austin becomes the first opponent ever in that new stadium for Inter Miami. Now, here's the funny part. They've started on the road in MLS, right? Inter Miami has a little road trip here, like some teams do when they're opening a new stadium. We saw it with, BMO and everything. You don't necessarily start at home right away. Sometimes you got to finish some stuff up. This had to, they felt they could make this April 4th date, and they have. But I was watching some video from, I believe it was like some local media in Miami, and they were talking about, and I think Jorge Mas even said this, like it's basically a construction zone on the outside still into the stadium. So, like, if you're going to the Inter Miami match, like, it's not really ready outside. It looks good inside. Right. I've seen some video and everything. Like,
do you remember, really nice. Dave, when BMO was being built back then, when it was Bank of California, of course, and we were looking at the calendar thinking, like, how is this stadium going to be ready for that opening game, that season home opener? And sure enough, they got it done, but it did not look like it.
Yeah. we're wearing hard hats, talking through like clenched teeth, like, how are they going to get this done with a smile on our face?
Remember that?
Oh, and it looked amazing. I mean, look, you could tell it was going to be in a world-class facility, no doubt. But you're just like, how in the world is this going to get ready? And you're right. They just move it along. Kudos to the construction crew and everybody who ran that project, because it was beautiful. I mean, it was amazing. But yeah, I think obviously this will help Inter Miami. It can only help. I saw some video again out on social media of the team seeing the locker room for the first time and stuff. And we know how that is. Like, it's a boost, I mean, it is. It's a boost for a pro athlete to be in a world-class facility. They deserve that, and that's because they're world-class athletes, and certainly that's going to help them. Mario, real quick,
and new stadium is in the heart of Miami too, right? It's not on
Miami,
the outskirts.
I mean, yes. Yeah, that's true too.
So I mean, that's awesome too, because a lot of the times you got these teams that are like playing on the outskirts. They're not really like in the heart of LA. Like BMO Stadium is in the heart of LA, which is great, And the other thing is that Miami, they were so smart to name that section of the stands after Leo Messi. That makes Messi like the first player, the first athlete to actually be playing in a stadium with a stand like named in his honor, which is like super, super cool to have that. And who else better than Messi to have an honor like that?
Good point.
With the fans that are going to be in the Leo Messi stands. And they also get, I was reading somewhere that they get like a special, like a surprise, on game nights, or a unique type of like moment or something as you're sitting there in those Leo Messi stands. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, congratulations on opening your new stadium down there. I hope you lose every game in it. That's fine. I mean, that's fine. Whatever. I hope it's not a home field advantage at all. But no, that's certainly Austin, kind of a cool thing for them to open up that stadium. I'm sure they're kind of struggling with the sense of the teams they've played. Austin has had a brutal schedule to start the season, of course, including getting a point against us at home, which they were, as we talked about, they were celebrating that like they got the full 3 points against us. And
they better represent. They're just hoping that they represent with a good match, because all eyes will be watching that match. I mean, a lot of people when we tune in
just to see
that
the stadium.
Match. So
Right. So FC Dallas, a real quick move here that I thought was interesting, Mario. It happened during this, this little before the window closed. They bring in Santi Moreno on loan from Fluminense. He had left, of course, Portland to go to Brazil with the Giant Club. And will come back to Dallas on a loan. So he's here for the season. But I thought it was interesting because I thought like Dallas just needed a little more talent, right? Like Petar Musa, we've seen them this year. They gave us a battle. No doubt about that. Petar Musa is a very fine player. They just needed just a little more here and there. And I'm not saying Santi Moreno is going to push them up to like, oh my goodness, this team's going to really threaten to win MLS Cup or anything. I think they're still a little far away, but they're closer. Because he can add some real flair. He can add some assists. He might not, he might not be the guy who's going to get you 15 goals himself, but he can help others around him too.
He'll attract a lot of attention as well from the defense. So
that's great.
Those little things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It really lightens the load for others too. So, and I've always loved his skill. There's no question about there's no debating his talent, his kind of unique skills, but if he can settle in quickly, then Dallas could even be more dangerous. 16 MLS teams, Mario, were drawn into the U.S. Open Cup round of 32. That draw took place earlier on Thursday, and they are now joining the tournament in the round of 32. LAFC is not one of them because we have other responsibilities in the Champions Cup. Remember, they kind of readjusted. If you make the Champions Cup, you're not in the U.S. Open Cup, vice versa. If you didn't make if you didn't make the Champions Cup. So 16 MLS teams are into the U.S. Open Cup round of 32, which will be played in, I think, a little less than 2 weeks, somewhere mid-April. And a couple of matchups that I just wanted to kind of highlight real quick. Nothing. Detroit City taking on and hosting Chicago Fire. Detroit has kind of a really good following there for a USL team, really passionate. They're very like an independent supporter type feel. Like they just don't, it's their club only. They don't care about anything else, and they're going to give Chicago a lot of fits in that one, I think. Charlotte FC, MLS club, hosting Charlotte Independence, a lower league club. So that's a real battle there. A city, that's a pretty cool derby, I had to say.
I love that you can get some of these matches that kind of feel like a mini derby, too. When these teams play against opponents that are in the same city, like LAFC, has done that. LAFC has played against LA Galaxy, matter of fact, So like here with Charlotte FC against Charlotte Independence, that's pretty cool. And then I like the fact that, I miss it a little bit. I do miss the U.S. Open Cup because I really enjoyed it when it was around for LAFC, and I love the Cinderella stories sometimes that you get because there's a lot of talented teams out there that can, they can hang with some of these MLS teams, and when you get those battles, it's really, really some pretty good football to watch as well. So I kind of miss those stories.
We've been represented by LAFC 2, which, obviously we're rooting for them.
The kids did an amazing job.
Absolutely. We're rooting for them like they're, like they're the big club at that point. But the last time LAFC played a U.S. Open Cup match, they won the championship. They won the cup, I should say. That was the last time they played a U.S. Open Cup match. We won it. So I mean,
thanks to Giroud helped out big time.
Got the old picture with the cup. It was great to see the cup up in person after we won it, which is all the better. So. That's the last time we played a U.S. Open Cup match, in fact. But unfortunately, or whatever, however you look at it, I understand the schedule congestion. So I guess if you are not in the U.S. Open Cup, that's actually, in theory, a good thing. Now, we love the U.S. Open Cup, but you want to be in the Champions Cup. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And if that's the trade-off, of course, every day, all day, Champions Cup, trying to win that. You want to be the best in your region going up against the teams we've been playing and will play in this tournament, no doubt about it. And we wish nothing but the best to everybody in the U.S. Open Cup. My Open Cup upset in the round of 32 is Sacramento Republic will thrash Minnesota United at home. No disrespect to Minnesota United. This is not like trying to pick on them. I think Sacramento Republic's very good, USL championship side. And at home, tough trip for Minnesota across the country. So I think that's my upset special coming up in the round of 32. So, Mario, great stuff as always, buddy. LAFC hosting Orlando City. We've got that match on the radio, on the ESPN LA app coming up Saturday, April 4th. You're going to hear the play-by-play on that app. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. with the pregame. Kickoff a little after 6:30 Pacific time. Cannot wait to get back at it, man. And then, like you said, fast and furious as soon as we start this match. As soon as that whistle blows, we're not going to stop for like a month, which I love, or almost 2 months till we get to the World Cup and have a little break then. But love the international break. Great show. Episode 95 in the books. Take us out of here, brother. Good job.
Yeah, I want to get this next block of games started off on the right foot, right? It's a crucial block of games coming up. So a big win against Orlando City will set it off and carry that into that Conca Champions. I can go on for days just talking about, the games that are up and coming and how they lead into each other. So let's get it going with this one right here on Saturday. Orlando City at BMO Stadium against LAFC. Thanks for checking us out. That's Dave Denholm. I'm Mario Ruiz. We'll catch you on the next episode of LAFC Plus. Peace.